Welcome. We will start with 2016 paper 1 section B. We have already discussed section A. As I mentioned in the previous session, most of the questions were very direct, so the competition was definitely tough. What is required is a good writing skill and a core knowledge of the subject. Now the first question talks about areal differentiation, which we have already covered in this lecture. You can refer it for details. The next is the concept of isodepanes. Isodepanes are the points which join equal transport cost in the Weber's model. So we have already discussed that when we have talked about Weber's model. So again you can refer this link. Now the characters of CBD, the central business district, which is the main commercial center of the city. It has major market area, the major financial setups, the major shopping areas. Besides that, the land value in the CBD is very high. The population density is high. What is being worked around in the recent CBDs is the system of subway, subway commuting. Then you have the pedestrians walkway that are being developed. Good facility for transport. So local metros, local communications are becoming easier for the central business district. Now since there is shortage of space, what is important is economizing the land. So you have the multi-story car parkings, multi-story buildings that are coming up in central business district. So these are some of the major characteristics of central business district. Central business district has also been discussed in the various sector models that we have talked about. So you can refer that also for the details on the sector models. Now the next is the idea of compage. This idea was given by Whittlesey, and what he tried to explain was the association between the physical, biotic and the environmental phenomena along with its influence on human occupancy on earth. So it's a kind of arrangement in the space and the connections that exist. So it more on focuses on the regional geography and the impacts of regional geography rather than the general geography. So when there was the dichotomy of regional versus the general geography going on, compage played an important role because this idea basically promoted the regional aspect of geography. And you have to mention that here. The next is the gravity model. We have already covered that in detail. Now next is the quantitative revolution. Again we have discussed the merits, demerits and the quantitative revolution. Discuss the role of site in determining the types and patterns of rural settlement. Now types of settlement we have talked about. The most important thing here is the types and patterns. So if it classifies settlement by types, I can say those can be compact, semi-compact or dispersed settlements. Again, I can say if it's a kind of fertile belt, the region of Indo-Gangetic plain, it would be more of compact settlements. However, if it's a kind of arid area or the desert area of Thar or Kathiawar region in Gujarat, I can say it would be more of dispersed settlement. When we talk about patterns, it could be rectangular if it's a fertile plain that is moving along. It could be linear along the mountains, along the valleys, along the transport networks. It could be circular around the water body, mainly in the cases of arid regions. It could be semicircular, star-like when you have a river terrace. If you have crossroads intersecting, it could be triangular, and finally nebular where there is kind of exceptional growth in the region. So these are some of the common patterns. So you have to mention the patterns and why that pattern originated as a kind of settlement in a particular region. Now what is region has been discussed in the lecture. Now the concept of Thesan polygon basically tries to delimit the regional areas. It's an important concept for planning and it influences the range of the individual areas. So what happens is you have polygons that are drawn on, and by the technique of triangulation you calculate, you try to connect the point to the nearest neighbor and establish the TIN, that's the triangulated irregular network, and finally you bisect them perpendicularly and see the area which is being formed is known as the Thesan polygon. So it's an important technique in delimitation. Now next is the regional pattern of life expectancy in the world. Now as you can see, you have the life expectancy globally that's given here. So you have regions of higher life expectancy, in contrast to you have regions of very low life expectancy. Now, increasing life expectancy is a good thing indeed, because you are providing better medical facilities, better healthcare facilities, lack of diseases or communicable diseases. So all those definitely leads to increase in life expectancy. But this increase in life expectancy is also creating burden on the society, because you have the higher aged population that is increasing. So the country has more of dependent population, since it has more of old age population. So dealing with geriatric population is another important issue, which was again a question in 2015. So it's again directly or indirectly related to the same concept. So you have to keep the same ideas in mind and mention the same points. You have to provide the pension, you have to provide pension services, you have to provide social security, you have to provide medical facilities, and kind of dependency ratio in the state would increase. So all those would be covered when you talk about the impacts of increasing life expectancy. Next question, the relevance of stop and go determinism. Now stop and go determinism is what is also known as neo-determinism. So again a direct question, we have discussed that. Differentiate between boundaries and frontiers. Again we have discussed that in detail, and we have talked about the various geometrical boundaries with examples. Now the Losch model, we have already talked about Christaler's central place theory. We are still to cover the Losch model, which we will cover in next few classes. Now what basically Losch tried to explain was a modification of Christaler, or I would say rather an extension of Christaler's theory. He tried to explain and use the same hexagonal model that Christaler used, but rather than using those as a single model, he tried to overlay multiple hexagonal lattices one over the other. As a result, when you are overlaying one hexagonal model and another and another and another, you would have sectors that would be bisected, and those sectors would be either you could easily define the sectors of rich and poor basically. So you would have, what he suggested was, you would have the city that would be divided into sectors of rich and poor. So I could say these would be the sectors for rich, then you would have poor, then again rich, then poor, and so on. So you have rich, poor, and so on would be the cycle as explained by Losch. So his main idea was that the concentration is brought about mainly by specialization and the economies of scale. Don't worry about Losch model, we will definitely cover it in next few videos itself. So we'll have a detailed understanding of Losch model there. Now next is linkage between source endowed regions and source utilizing regions determine the pattern of international trade. Now this is a very important question. I would say it's a bit tricky question for most of the students. Here what is being asked is to understand the concept of trade, and when you are talking about the concept of trade, you must be familiar with the term of comparative cost advantage. We have already covered that in this model. So comparative cost advantage was laid forward by Ricardo. Although Allen's model was also a kind of modification on international trade, and all these models try to explain that you have comparative advantages which are driven by differences in resource endowments. For example, you have region A and B. You have 50 and 150 production of apples in this region, and next you have let's say this is apples and this is bananas, and this is person A and person B. He has 5 and 25. If I talk about absolute advantage, this person would have absolute advantage in both apples and bananas, but what is important to calculate here is this is 10 times of what B can produce, and this is merely 6 times of what B can produce. That means A would definitely have comparative advantage in terms of apples and not in case of bananas. Again, if I connect this way, I can say for A, 1 apple would be equal to 3 bananas. However, for B, 1 apple would be equal to 5 bananas, and this person A would have This A stands for apple and this A stands for person, so don't get confused here. Now this apple, this person A would have advantage in production of apple till the point it reaches 5 bananas. But as soon as it crosses 5 bananas, it won't have absolute advantage in production of apples. So that is the basic idea. We have discussed that in detail in this video. You can refer that. But the main idea is you must be familiar with the concept of international trade and comparative cost advantage. Now next question, in what ways geographers contribute to optimal land use planning? Now here while answering this question, what is important to understand is when you are talking about optimal land use planning and the geographer's contribution, it's important that you must mention that the techniques that geographer use. So it would be mapping, it would be surveying, it would be field surveys, cartography, then GIS and remote sensing. So all the geographical techniques would be covered under answering this question. Again, when we talk about differences between geography and land use planning, I can say land use planning is simply a cutout of the landscape from the region. However, geography implies the landscape on the earth's surface. So it has the foundations with the earth itself. When we talk about the subject matter, the basic difference between the two is under land use planning, you work around designing and realization of territorial development. And when you talk about designing of territorial development, you need to use the various techniques. And what is important in this question is to mention the importance of these techniques in order to achieve a appropriate land use planning. So removal of urban slums, then you have controlled development of urban areas, no urban sprawl taking place, removal of zones of urban poverty, in which areas residential settlement should be worked around, in which areas industrial settlement should be worked around, what should be the green areas. All those could be demarcated by using these techniques. So demarcating planning areas is the main focus that geographers work around. So with this we cover section B of paper 1. We would be covering section 2 of 2016 paper in one single lesson. So you can subscribe to our channel for more updates. Have a good day ahead.